It is the spring of 1944, and the skies above Romania's oil fields are tense with anticipation. This location is crucial, providing approximately 60% of the Reich's crude oil, making it essential for Axis supply lines. Consequently, the Allies have set their sights on these oil fields today. American B-17 bombers and P-51 fighters are en route to deliver a decisive strike aimed at crippling the oil supply. A formidable formation of B-17 bombers approaches, accompanied by squadrons of P-51 Mustangs, renowned as the Cadillac of the sky. This assembly represents a significant military force. However, they are bracing for a challenging confrontation. Within the Mustangs, the alarm of bandits resonates as swarms of Bf-109 fighters are detected. The battle commences. The P-51s strive valiantly to shield the slower B-17s, leading to an intense dogfight. One P-51 is on the verge of claiming a kill against a 109 when a German fighter suddenly appears from behind, unleashing cannon fire from a mere 100 yards away. The Mustang stands no chance, disintegrating in a spectacular explosion as it descends, leaving a trail of smoke in its wake. The victorious 109, adorned with a red heart insignia, does not pause for celebration. Its pilot swiftly targets another P-51, unleashing a barrage of machine gun and cannon fire, sending a second American aircraft spiraling to the ground in flames. The skill of this particular German pilot does not go unnoticed by the Americans, prompting 8 Mustangs to converge on him, firing relentlessly. Remarkably, the German pilot evades much of the incoming fire through exceptional maneuvers and sharp turns. However, the intensity of the chase is depleting his fuel reserves at an alarming rate. Inside the cockpit of the 109, a red warning light has been flashing for some time, indicating that fuel is running low. Aware that he will not return to base, the German pilot presses on until the last possible moment. As the engine begins to sputter, he makes the critical decision to bail out. His parachute deploys with a sudden jolt, allowing him to drift gently toward the ground. One of the Mustangs circles back, seemingly preparing for an attack run on the descending pilot. Instead, the American aircraft zooms past, offering a salute. The conduct among the aerial knights remains vibrant. The individual receiving the salute is Erich Hartmann, recognized as the most lethal fighter pilot in history, boasting 352 confirmed kills. Hartmann achieved the majority of his victories against Soviet aircraft on the Eastern Front. Notably, in 1944, he undertook 2 consecutive missions during which he downed 11 enemy planes. Operating under conditions of almost constant numerical disadvantage, he skillfully evaded fire from Yak fighters and Soviet anti-aircraft artillery, experiencing numerous near-death encounters, the most perilous being an incident involving a fellow German pilot as Soviet forces advanced toward the base of Hartmann's unit. JG-52, his commanding officer, instructs Lieutenant Hartmann and 7 other pilots to ascend and eliminate the enemy fighter bombers. The squadron takes flight, and Hartmann quickly identifies 40 Stormovik bombers, accompanied by 40 Yak-9 and Lag-5 fighters. Leading his squadron, he descends from above like falcons upon their prey. The Bf-109s cut through the enemy formations, unleashing a relentless barrage of machine gun fire. Hartmann then shifts his focus to the Stormoviks, employing a tactic of approaching from behind and slightly below the tail. As the target fills his cockpit view, he pulls the trigger, resulting in a swift explosion of the Soviet bomber. He then sharply banks and targets another unleashing another volley that engulfs the second storm of it in flames. However, a series of loud bangs jolts Hartmann. Although he has not been struck, his engine is failing and emitting smoke. While he retains control of the aircraft, he opts to execute a crash landing in a field of sunflowers. Taking his time to exit the plane, he feels reassured by the sight of an approaching German truck. Unfortunately, it is a captured vehicle, and the two soldiers inside display the Red Star insignia on their caps. Aware that he will be taken prisoner, he resolves to make it difficult for them. As the Soviets draw near, he pretends to be injured, and the two soldiers. The individual was placed onto a stretcher and subsequently onto the truck's bed. As the vehicle traversed behind Soviet lines, the soldiers were momentarily distracted by the sound of Stuka dive bombers. It was a critical moment. The seemingly injured pilot suddenly rose to his feet, overpowering the guard and knocking him to the ground before leaping off the truck and fleeing as he navigated through the darkness. Erich was taken aback by a commanding voice that called out, "Halt!" Before Erich could reveal his identity, the German sentry discharged his Mauser, and a bullet tore through Erich's trousers, narrowly missing his leg. Before the anxious sentry could reload, Hartmann exclaimed, "I am a German pilot who has been shot down. For God's sake, allow me to pass." The Soviets had stripped him of all identification, leading the wary German sentries to escort the flying ace to a foxhole at gunpoint. After a night filled with tension and multiple interrogations, Erich Hartmann was taken back to headquarters. He recorded his 352nd victory on May 8, 1945, when he shot down a Soviet Yak fighter over Brno later that day. After enduring 6 long and brutal years, the war in Europe came to an end. Hartmann and the JG-52 unit received orders to surrender to the Americans, ultimately yielding to the US 90th Infantry Division. However, Erich and his fellow JG-52 pilots were subsequently handed over to the Soviets, who had not forgotten the suffering inflicted by the ace upon their nation. Erich was tried by the Soviets as a war criminal and sentenced to 25 years in prisoner of war and forced labor camps. This harsh sentence was deemed fully justified by the Soviets, considering the devastation wrought by the German war machine on the Soviet populace. The conclusion of captivity occurred when the Soviets sought a trade agreement with the West, particularly with West Germany. A component of this arrangement involved the release of all prisoners of war. Hartmann returned to West Germany in 1955. Following his return, he continued his service in the Air Force, ultimately retiring in 1970 with the rank of colonel. He remained active in aviation, participating in fly-ins with his former comrades, and naturally took on the role of a flying instructor. Erich Hartmann, recognized as the most lethal fighter ace in history, completed his final flight on September 20, 1993. In 1997, the Russian Federation posthumously annulled all charges previously levied against him by the Soviet Union. If you have not done so already, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and explore more of our videos. Thank you.